Plotinus Third Ennead, Ninth Tractate, Detached Considerations, Introduction, Philosophy as a Daily Art of Ascent. Plotinus begins not with a grand metaphysical premise, but with the tone of someone reflecting inwardly. This tractate is a collection of thoughts for those who are already on the path, those who seek to remain turned inward, who strive to live in harmony with soul, intellect, and ultimately the good. It is not about constructing a system, it's about maintaining orientation. These fragments are reminders. How to live, how to think, how to avoid falling, and how to ascend. The wisdom here is intimate, not in the sense of emotion, but in the sense of experiential knowledge. Plotinus speaks as one who has dwelt in the higher realm, and urges us to remember what we are. The soul's descent and the lure of the lower. A recurring theme in these reflections is the soul's dangerous attachment to the body. The soul is a divine being, born of Nous, meant to contemplate the eternal. But in entering the body and identifying with it, the soul begins to forget itself. Plotinus warns, the soul does not become evil by entering the body, but by loving the body, by placing its identity in the mutable and thus becoming fragmented, anxious, and vulnerable. What follows is not moralism but a metaphysical truth. When the soul forgets itself, it becomes ruled by external things, pleasure, pain, fear, opinion. This is not the soul's essence but a shadow self. Thus, we must constantly guard against this descent not by hatred of the body but by refusing to be dominated by it. 2. The ascent through self-knowledge. Plotinus affirms that the soul can always return to itself. The path is through self-knowledge, not in the psychological sense but in the metaphysical one. To know oneself is not to analyze memories or personality. It is to recognize the soul's divine nature. To know the self is to see the form of soul, and ultimately to become transparent to the light of intellect. This kind of knowledge is not discursive, it is visionary. It happens when the soul is collected, still, and turned inward. Plotinus emphasizes that this is possible now, in this life, for anyone willing to practice detachment, contemplation, and recollection. 3. The illusion of evil and the nature of the lower world. Plotinus repeats a theme from earlier tractates. Evil has no true being. It is the privation or shadow of being, the result of distance from the good. What we call evil arises when the soul is cut off from its source, when it identifies with lack rather than fullness. This misalignment breeds passion, ignorance, and violence. But Plotinus insists, even the lower world has its place in the great order. The soul's task is not to reject creation, but to see through its images and use them as reminders of the intelligible world. Even the lower realities, when rightly understood, point back to their source. 4. The role of the philosopher, not escape, but orientation. The philosopher, for Plotinus, is not someone who merely theorizes, but one who lives from the soul. The true philosopher must detach from the fleeting, resist identification with body and sense, return inward to the soul's higher aspect, contemplate Nous, and through Nous, approach the One. Philosophy is not escape from the world, but the restoration of proper order, body subordinate to soul, soul aligned with intellect, intellect directed toward the good. This requires practice, vigilance, and, above all, love, a longing to become what we are in our truest being. Being is light, ascent as illumination. In one of the most poetic images of this tractate, Plotinus describes the soul's turning inward as a kind of awakening to light. The soul, when caught in the body, is like someone in a cave seeing only shadows. But when it turns, it sees the light that was always there, behind and within. This is not metaphorical for Plotinus, it is ontological. The intelligible realm is light, Nous is a living radiance, the One is the source of all luminosity beyond even vision. To turn inward is not to close off the world, but to rediscover the source of all brightness, not with the eyes, but with the eye of the soul. 6. Final reflection, all beings desire the good. Plotinus concludes with a reminder that all beings, even those that fall, desire the good. No one seeks evil for its own sake. Even in their errors, all creatures are striving for something they believe will fulfill them. This universal longing is the echo of the soul's origin in the One. Even when mistaken, the will aims at unity, happiness, truth. The task of the philosopher is to purify that desire, to guide it back to its true object, not wealth, pleasure, or power, but the good itself, which is beyond being and yet present in all. Conclusion, detached yet devoted reflections on the ascent. In Detached Considerations, Plotinus does not construct a system, he offers meditative fragments, deep insights, spiritual reminders for the soul who already knows, but forgets. The soul is divine, but forgets itself through embodiment. Philosophy is not learning new truths, but remembering old ones. Evil is lack of order, salvation is return to order, body to soul, soul to nous, nous to the one. All desire, even in error, is the desire for the good. In these scattered reflections we glimpse Plotinus not just as metaphysician but as spiritual master, guiding souls gently with luminous clarity back to their eternal home.